All right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you guys are having a super awesome week. Tuesday afternoon seems to work better for me personally. So welcome. Hopefully, it works better for you too. Thanks, Scott, for coming on in. Welcome, everybody. We are live and in living color. Hopefully, this is going to be a better parking place for the cruising family lifetime. So if you don't know me, my name's Nick. I am um, one of five, part of this channel. A lot of what you see, a lot of the talking comes from me, a lot of the recording and the editing comes from me. So this is a family channel. We talk about we talk about cruising from the perspective of a family. And today we're going to talk all about excursions. We have a cruise coming up in less than a month, and we have been enthralled into excursions. And because I've been in the middle of it, I thought that talking tonight about excursions would be an awesome uh, topic to talk about. So before I get started, if there are excursions that any of you, I think there's a couple of you in the live here, but if you guys have excursions that you loved, you can go ahead and share them also. The so we're going to go ahead and get right into it. I have a made a presentation to go along with my talk. It'll help me focus. I like to make sure that I'm sticking to topic. So my presentation is really for me to keep focused on what I want to talk about. So the first oh let me go ahead and just put this. There we go. The first excursion that I'm going to talk about was actually an excursion that we planned all on our own. And if you're new to cruising, I would definitely recommend looking at some of the cruise line excursions. That's something really important to know. We're a family that's been cruising for 20 years or 19 years now, so we have lots of experience doing it. And this particular excursion that I'm going to talk about um, came uh, in 2022. So we've been cruising for like 18 years. We had actually been to the port that we did it in before, so we knew kind of what we were looking at. So if you are new to cruising, I would definitely highly recommend looking at the excursions that are offered through through the line that you're cruising, or definitely with your travel agent, talking with somebody that has a little bit of experience. So the this excursion, we actually we traveled as a family of six. The five of us invited grandma to come to Alaska with us. So we took grandma with us. She has mobility issues. Um, she can walk. She has the ability to walk, but long distances are a struggle for her and make it impossible for her to see that countryside. So we had been to Juneau before. We felt like it was a safe place and an easy place to navigate. So we actually had gone on to Enterprise and looked at the prices, and they were just astronomical. They were way more than what we were looking to spend. We look at Avis, and we looked at one other spot, and we thought, okay, this probably isn't going to work for us. And the reason for that was we wanted to be on our own time, kind of like time schedule, and we wanted to have a little bit of flexibility away from a group. Um, by renting a car for yourself, you're putting yourself into that driver's seat. I actually continue to like research and came upon uh, this this service. It's called Turo. Turo, if you're not familiar with it, is kind of like the VRBO of car rentals. So individuals put their cars up for rental, and they set their own price based on the type of car that they have and the demand in their area. Apparently, Juno's demand is very high because the price for a single day was very high, and this was a couple of years ago. Um, but the we were able to rent with insurance through the company through Turo. We were able to rent the a van that held six of us comfortably for under $100 for the day, which meant that we had from the time that we got into port clear through the end of the day we had a vehicle. So we took the van, we picked up grandma right there at the curb. Um, we picked her up right there at the curb, and we're able to load in her and the kids, and we went to Mendenhall Glacier, um, which, if you know anything about Alaska, like a cruise ship price to go to Mendenhall Glacier on the cheap is about 50 or $60 a person. So you might be able to get it in a combo with some other things, but definitely we went on a budget and we're able to get to there. We walked around a little bit. As I said, we weren't going to go up to the glacier itself. We went and saw where you could walk out, but we weren't going to leave grandma behind. So we took some pictures. We walked around the area, and then we got back into the van. From there, we went over to a place called I think it's like tropical rainforest, not tropical rainforest, rainforest. It's uh, basically what happened was there was a big mudslide, and a bunch of trees went over. A, a bunch of the trees went over, and they planted into those dead trees plants. So you're able to walk around, and then they have a shuttle that takes you up to the top of the mountain and then back down. Um, so we're able to go there. Obviously, you have to pay for entrance into each of the places that you go, but you're not on someone else's time crunch, and we're so we were able to go there. From there, we went to I forget the name of the place. It was in my vlog. I know that it's there, but there was a brewery that we went and stopped at. We got some good food, some good cold beverages, and um, from there we were able to then head up. Yeah, I know, Scott. Yeah, that was definitely a good price for that Turo. That Turo rental really is check. I mean, definitely check out. You can't beat that rate. But from the from the brewery, we went to St. Teresa's Shrine, and it happened to be Sunday. We didn't go to mass. We could have, but we were able to go and see the area. We walked around. We took pictures. We walked through the Stations of the Cross, and it was really a beautiful place. Um, and then from there, we went. We drove back towards town, and we stopped at Costco. We didn't buy much at Costco. I don't remember why we stopped there. It might have been a bathroom break, but we definitely stopped. We stopped at the Costco, or is it Walmart? It was a big shopping center for the area, whichever one it was. We stopped there just as a pit stop, and then we went back into the downtown area, and we went to see the whale sculpture, and we walked around that. We waited for it to go off and be able to watch it rain down the water. So, and then we came back in, we dropped the van off at the designated spot, and then we were actually able to go into downtown and do about an hour and a half of shopping in the little shops. Grandma's motivated to get up and walk when there's shopping involved. So she was able to do that walking, and the area around the port really had some nice flat flat area to be able to walk. We came up. We could have gone up the sky lift to go up to the top of the mountain and then come back down. We elected not to, um, just because our kids were starting to get a little animated. So definitely, um, but we could have we had time for that. We probably had another 5 or 6 hours that we could have gone and done more things. And there is so many things to do in Juneau. If you're going there, you haven't been before, you can rent a Turo and just do some research about places to visit. Our person, we communicated with the owner of the car ahead of time. They actually gave us a sheet of 2 pages worth of locations that we could go to. So it was an amazing day in Juneau. Both times that we've been to Juneau, it's been dry, it's been warm. I know that lots of people, you can never guarantee that, but every time we've gone to Juneau, that's been the situation. So definitely, if you're in Alaska, and you have an extended period of time, check out a Turo, and see if you could do a rental, because you can hit a lot of places at a much lower rate than what you would trying to do an excursion um, through like Viator or through your cruise ship. So um, let's see here. Oh, I had this fabulous little uh, graphic there. You can check it out. It shows the date that we went, and then stated that it was a self tour. But this was so much more than like what a self tour is, in person. So definitely check out a Turo, especially if you're in a location that you feel safe in. All right. The next excursion I'm going to talk about was a sloth excursion, and lots of people that have done Western Caribbean um, it, itineraries have experienced this before. We've actually gone on the Western Caribbean 3 times. We're not typical cruisers where you do Caribbean all the time, every time. We're West Coast cruisers, so we've done the Mexican Riviera quite often. But we had seen the sloths before the last time we went, and we just didn't do it. But we used the company that we used before. Um, Yeah, it was an experience. Uh, uh, in looking at we actually said, "Oh, we're not gonna do it." And then like 2.5 weeks before, Cheryl's like, "You know what? I really wanna hold that sloth. I really wanna have that experience." But they are they are wild animals, and they have definitely a texture and an odor to them. So just be prepared if you do have that opportunity. Um, all right. So coming back to our experience with Victor Bottom, and um, I could. We've actually used them all 3 times we've been in Roatan. All 3 times we've done something different with them, and I'm putting this on there because it really was a cool experience. My wife was all about snuggling with that sloth, but but for for us, for me, the reason that Victor Bottom is an awesome opportunity in Roton is they have a build your own kind of excursion pack, and again, we like to kind of be on our own schedule. That's one of the pieces that goes along with us and cruising with kids. So when we signed up for the when we signed up for the excursion, we made sure to be very specific. We wanted to go to the sloths and come back to the ship. I almost said come home. Go to the sloths and come back to the ship. So, when we were on Carnival, so we got off, we went over the hill down, and our person was waiting right there with us. Um, the person, it was a private tour. They He didn't go anywhere else. He stayed with us. He didn't like walk with us, like looking over our shoulders, but he stayed with us the entire time. He was our person. There wasn't. It's not like he's servicing, 3 or 4 different excursions. He was just with us. So he took us out. He kind of took a long way, having been to Roatan before. Um, he was going the long way, and at first I felt a little annoyed, but once we got to what he was taking us to, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." So he took us into a neighborhood, and then he went out and he took us along the beach, and we drove along the beach for maybe 10 minutes. And along the way, talking about his community, talking about what they do in Rotan, and the culture there. And then we got to the location. Um, there's a big long line, lots of people waiting. He took us around, and we went inside and kind of made his own line. I don't like to cut. That's I won't cut. But he took us up there, and talked to the person behind the counter, and then asked me for the money. It was exactly the amount that it was expecting. We paid in cash. They had some sort of weird thing about an extra fee if I had to pay with a card. It wasn't a big deal because I knew ahead of time. So I paid in cash, and within 4 minutes, we were working with our guide. She took us straight to the sloth enclosure. It was kind of out meandering towards the back of where their location is, or in their location. Um, but we went back, and we had we they had, I think, like 6 sloths, like 4 babies and then 2 adults, just for the 5 of us. And we spent probably 20 minutes there, which sounds like a short amount of time, but you can only hug a sloth for so long, um, and being able to be there with the sloths. Um, the 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 tour had other parts to it. We went and saw some monkeys, some birds, but one of my kids has some pretty big emotions and sensory issues. If you saw our vlog for this, you might have seen her kind of like ducking down or trying to get away, and it's not because she was like afraid of anything. It's just who she is. So, and during the entire time, we were encouraging her to do do how she felt, like if it was good for her to come in, and if not. But we actually cut that part of it short, and then our guide, took us out, and um, we needed an inhaler. So on the way back, he kind of took his time, but he was doing like a tour, and he went and found a pharmacy. He went in with my wife, to talk with the person, make sure that she was getting what she was asking for, and then we got back in. Um, and the excursion was maybe 2.5, 3 hours total with the driving, the work, being with animals. But it really was awesome service. And every time we worked with Victor Bodden, um, the company doesn't give us any money. They don't give us any money off their excursions either. They're more than happy to collect their parts, but they've always done a great job for us. So definitely, not just the slots, but anything that they do, I would highly recommend to you guys. All right, so let's move on. So the next one I want to talk about, um, which is crazy, thinking that this is only number 3 out of 5. But my third favorite all-time excursion was the Tracy on Fjord excursion. This is a cruise run excursion, my first cruise run excursion that I'm talking about here. So the other two were private excursions that we booked outside of a cruise. This is 100% through the cruise, and um, it was actually sold out when we were getting ready to go on the cruise. We're like, oh man, we missed that. And we were a day and a half or two in, and looking on the Carnival app, and it had popped up, and there are actually 7 spots available. Somebody must have said no, um, but we elected to just send the one person with the camera, and I went out on the Tracy on Fjord excursion. So they have a time set. On our cruise, I believe there was one in the morning, um, like early morning, mid morning, um, afternoon, and then late. So I think there were four. We were on the very last one. Um, so we basically got off onto a tender, or onto a large boat, and they took that boat up the fjord. I think they said it was about a mile and a quarter from where the ship had to stop because there are too many there are too many icebergs in the water, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that's the case or not. It could be, um, uh, but we went up. It was about 20 or 30 minutes of going in the on that boat. And I will, as a tip, I'm always warm, or always warm no matter how cold it is. But with the air moving, and just the temperature outside, it was definitely chilly. So wear a jacket. Make sure you have a jacket to go, even if it's warm outside. Um, because the water and because it's just cold there. So we got to go up. We got to hear. We got very close um, to the glacier, and we spent about 30 minutes going back and forth, kind of in front, kind of floating back, and then forth. We could hear the caving. We could, I saw some of the ice falling off. It was really a spectacular um, excursion. Just being there with nature, and it was really an awesome experience. From there, um, hi there, Tin Pots. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm talking about the 5 top excursions that I've been on. If you have one that you want to share, go ahead and drop it here in the comments. Um, from 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 the uh, glacier, we went back out. We actually went to where the ship had let us off at, but they had already kind of taken off because we were heading out. We were heading up, I think, up to Juneau. I think that's where we're headed to. Um, but we went and, excuse me, we found a large waterfall, a mountain waterfall that was pouring down, and we got super close to the waterfall. For sure, I'll tell Brandon hi. Okay, thanks so much, Jared. Excuse me, guys. Sorry, my daughter was in. Um, And then from there, we went either even further. We had to catch up to the ship basically, um, and we went past the ship, and they took us into a cove, um, and down the cove, there they were saying, "Oh, there's some whales over here," um, and so we everybody got real quiet, and in the on the ship, we got to see the whale kind of crest in its little its fin. I think it was a humpback whale, they said, but it was a cool experience. Definitely, if you have if you have the chance to go, it's definitely worth trying it out. Um, I'm just a little why it's not higher on my list. There's a captive audience here. I thought it was a little bit of a bummer that in order to actually see the glacier, you have to pay extra to go on the excursion. But that's just me. Um, we're splitting hairs. It was a magnificent experience. So, all right, the next excursion that I'm going to talk to you about was snorkeling in Belize. So, Ambergris Cay is not close to where you tender in from. So, in 2014, my wife and I were on a Caribbean cruise. Um, we were on a cruising cruising site, and one of the guys that was part of the roll call had typed about this excursion that he wanted to take. It was a bucket list excursion, he said, and we're like, you know what? If you want to do it, we'll totally go in with you to make it to be able to charter like a snorkel boat once we get there. So we tagged along with his idea. So we Belize is a tender port, or at least it was in 2014. I think it still is. Um, we tendered in, we got in, we took a taxi, and now you're going to be like, oh no, why did you do this? So this was definitely a private excursion. So we tendered in, we took a taxi to the airport. We took a taxi to the airport because to get to Ambergris Cay from Belize, we needed to fly. So we all bought tickets. I'm sitting here before you, and I never missed a ship coming back. I'll say that, but we'll get there. Um, so we flew to Ambergris Cay. We met a person that was part of the tender, the or part of the private excursion that we had set up. There, it was a young child, and he walked us about a mile and a half into town, and then onto a beach, and then down a little ways, and down past some huts and past some other things, and then we finally got to another hut where there were a couple of small boats, big enough for 4 people, for 5 people, um, and they set us up with snorkel gear. Everybody got snorkel gear. We set out. We went out to Ambergris Cay, which is part of that barrier reef in Belize, um, and they took us out. It was the coolest thing. They had some feed, put it in the water, and there were sharks that came up. They weren't the type of shark that's going to bite you or me, but I can say that I've swam with sharks because of this excursion. Um, so we went out, and they took us in, and we snorkeled around and found all sorts of different sea life. Um, I only went in at one stop, and there's a reason for that. This was my first time ever swimming in the ocean. My first time ever swimming in the ocean, and that is crazy, right? It's crazy to think this person sitting in front of you never swam in the ocean. But yes, I never swam in the ocean. So, um, having never swam in the ocean before, I um, kind of started to hyperventilate a little bit, and I, even though I got to swim with sharks, maybe it wasn't the best experience for me. but my wife loved it. That's awesome. And we got some footage. One of our YouTube videos from a long time ago has all that snorkeling stuff on there. The people we swam with got some awesome pictures underneath the water, which is really awesome for them. Um, they found some sharks that they swam with. Then there was some turtles that they swam with. Really an awesome experience for them, and it really was a cool excursion. Um, After that, we got done. Uh, we came back. The same person that had picked us up came back and took us to the other side. One second. I am so sorry, guys. As I've said before, um, as I've said before, I am this channel is a family of five, um, and my daughter needed help a little bit to get refocused on doing some homework. So I apologize for that. So coming back to our excursion. So we got done. We got dressed. We walked back to the airport. Remember, we flew in. By this time, the skies had changed, and there were definitely some thunderclouds pretty close by. Um, and my wife looked down and she realized she had left her watch. Remember, I said before that we had to walk a mile and a half to the place that we were snorkeling from. Well, she said, "Oh my goodness, I lost my watch, or I forgot my watch." And the person that had taken us there and back went in a full sprint. Um, and within about 9 minutes, because we needed to board in like 14 minutes, we needed to board our plane. um, the boy came back, and I don't know how he's able to go there and back, but he did make it all the way back, and my wife got her her watch. Um, but we got into the plane. It was pouring rain when we got into the plane. We went and we took off. We flew. We went back to Belize City, um, and if you go onto my site, you or my channel, um, this video is like 8 years old now. I made it a little while after because I found the footage. But you actually see when we came into back into Belize, when we came down, we were going to land, but where the runway was before when we took off was just a river of water, and the pilot went back up and turned back around. So, honest to goodness, I will say, on the second time around, they found a runway. They found the runway. They were able to touch down, and we were able to get back there. And then we were able to get a taxi and make it back before the last tender. But definitely, maybe not the smartest idea. It was definitely a cool experience. And as our friend had said, as the person online that had talked about this experience had said, this was a bucket list type of excursion. 100%. Absolutely loved the excursion. If we ever go back to Belize, we'll definitely make a point to try to get to Ambergris Caye and do snorkeling again, or at least be able to get back out to that barrier reef to do snorkeling around it. So if you're in that situation, I would 100% say try it out. You need to be a little bit confident and make sure that your times match up, right? Because you don't want to miss that tender. Um, and we probably had another hour of buffer time, um, but we didn't really have a backup, and it probably wasn't the smartest idea. So, but We did take an excursion where we got onto a plane, flew somewhere, did stuff, got back onto a plane and flew back and missed the runway. So, um, and we've lived the tale of the tale. So, all right, my top number one very favorite excursion of all time was whale watching. Now, Um, if you're from the West Coast, if you're from California, maybe you're like, well, whale watching, what is that for? That's how my wife took it. She's like, Nick, you really want to do whale watching? Um, my grandma or my mother-in-law and her sister were like, do you really want to go see whales? Is that the best use of our time? And I'm like, yeah, I want to go do this whale watching excursion. So in 2009, this was 2009. Um, when we were in Juneau, we went whale watching. Um, and in the description, in the Holland America description, it said guaranteed to see a whale. They made a big deal out of it. Like there was like 4 sentences all about that guarantee and how if you didn't see a whale, you get your money back. Okay. So I was like, yep, I'm gonna see a whale. I am pumped, pumped to see a whale. Let's do this. Let's go see our whale. So we get off the ship. They did it like a transfer. They had to take us in a bus somewhere. So they took us in a bus. They took us in a bus up to the place where we were gonna take the boat out. And everybody kind of got off the bus. We got on. It was a double decker uh, boat that we were on. It was a huge boat, like lots of people. Sorry, guys, give me 1 second, please. All right, I apologize. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. It, this is a whale tale. You're gonna hear something else here. Um, all right, so we get on the boat, we head out. We're going kind of slow because it's a really big boat. Um, and there's a naturalist on the ship or on the boat. Sorry, the naturalist is like talking to us all about the foliage and how wonderful it is for some sort of plant to be like blooming or whatever. I don't remember the specific plant. But about 15 minutes in, she said, "Now, if you look off to your 3 o'clock here, about 7 miles out, you can see a whale." I turned to Cheryl and I said to her, "If that is the whale that we are seeing and they don't want to pay us, I'm gonna insist insist on getting my money back." And I was a little bit convinced that was going to be it. So we go out, we go out on we continue out kind of into the bay, and the person's talking to us. We're kind of hanging out, just looking for stuff, and then they say they talk to us about this pod of orcas. So they told us there's a pod of orcas about 3/4 of a mile in this direction. We're gonna continue on. We're gonna go a little bit slower so that we don't scare them. So everybody gets kind of quiet. Everybody kind of moves to the side of the ship where they think they're gonna see them, and we get up to them, and the water, because we were going really slow by that point, was just almost like glass. And um, they're just this huge pod of orcas, of killer whales. I would say 13 of them, 15 of them. And at one point, I was out on the or not the balcony, out by the railing, um, and there was one or two of them that were close enough that if I reached my hand out, I could touch their fin. And they kind of swam with us for a solid maybe 40 minutes and doing all sorts of fun stuff. I wasn't big into videoing then. I had a camera, but nothing like that, that I have now. Um, but it was such an awesome experience just to be there, very tranquil, and um, we're going along, and they haven't left us, and then all of a sudden over the loudspeaker we hear the naturalist. She got very animated. She was just kind of like floating, telling stories, but she got very excited, and then she explained to us that there had been a sighting of what's called bubble net feeding. Bubble net feeding. Um, it's where um, humpback whales will go in a circular motion at one level, so like two or three, like two on the bottom going that way. I can't, and then two above them going the other direction, and then two more going the other direction, and they kind of disorientate the fish. And then one humpback whale will go up and kind of like feed on the fish that they disorientated. So we go over, we go towards it. It's kind of in the opposite direction of the way we've been headed, and we come over, and you see these humpback whales come up, and it was a sight that I've never seen before. I wish I had a video camera um, back then, but if you could see on my screen right here, there is a picture. My wife was actually able to get like three pictures of it happening because we saw it happen like 7 times. It was absolutely spectacular. Like, never in my life did I even know that this thing existed, and here we were watching these huge whales um, act together to feed. And as the naturalist explained, the behavior that we were witnessing was a learned behavior, which means not every humpback whale in the world knows how to do it. They have to learn it from other humpback whales that have learned it before. So not every humpback whale does the behavior that we saw, but it was something spectacular. Um, and for the 30 minutes that we rode home after watching this, the naturalist just sat there, um, glowing about what she had just seen. She could truly appreciate what she experienced. The rest of us were just, we're bystanders, being able to witness something that we didn't realize we were going to be able to see. But for her, this was like seeing the Super Bowl or seeing Taylor Swift. I guess that would be the 2024 analogy. But yes, wow, it was wow. I don't know if I'll ever have an excursion um, again like it, because you don't even know, like, you can't plan for that thing to happen. Like, she had taken people out the day before and basically seen that grouping of whales, and they didn't do that behavior. Um, so it was something different or something spectacular. So um, definitely, if you do get the chance to go to Alaska, um, and you're on an excursion that says guaranteed to see whales, don't worry, they're definitely going to find you whales, and it's not going to be 3 or 4 or 8 miles off in the distance. It'll be close, because that's where they feed, that's where they live during that time of the year. So we were there beginning of June, for anybody's reference that's hoping to figure out whether or not they can go. And that was a ship sold excursion. So just you know giving that fair warning. Um, Definitely, I don't think there's an advantage or disadvantage to booking through through cruise line or not through a cruise line. I think there's a sense of there is a sense of like security doing it with the cruise line. But as you gain experience, you'll also be able to have a little bit of security in your own knowledge. So anybody that's here, it looks like maybe me and Scott and maybe one more. Um, but anybody else have like a spectacular excursion that they would love to maybe put out there for our viewing or listening pleasure? And as you're thinking about that, I'll talk about our journey right now, as we're going on the Firenze in 25 days, I think. Um, we again is going to be the 6 people that I kind of described. Grandma's coming along with us, um, so we're with that mobility issue. She doesn't like to sit at pools, which is what when I think of going to Puerto Vallarta, I think of going to Dreams, and just kind of chilling. Um, so we're not going to do that. Um, the the rhythm of the night, we're like, oh man, I want to go see that. Um, but it might be we visit. We visit Puerto Vallarta and go to like an all inclusive and go to that as an incursion from there. Um, and then Mazatlan, um, same. So Cabo's probably going to be our place that we get off, and we really want to do jet skis. So um, Cabo's a hit and miss place because the tendering, if it's really a rough day, you don't get to go in. So all right, thanks, Scott. Scott says, I think the best excursion I ever did was a Jeep tour, but I don't remember where it was. And isn't that kind of a crazy thing? Like you go on lots and lots of excursions and it's like, oh, I don't remember where this is, or kind of that why it was there. Um, we've been to Catalina um a dozen times, and we've rented a golf court probably like 4 times. Golf cart, sorry, court. Um, so you just have those kind of excursions that you're like, oh, we'll just do this when we're there. So well, uh, I would love to do some sort of adventure. Um, all right, looks like Scott has it in his memory. Here we go. I would love to go do an adventure like an ATV thing, or riding horses or something like that. But definitely not until I drop some weight. The best excursion ever was the Glacier Express in Alaska. The Glacier Express, did you go on a train up to, um, I've seen some of those glacier, some of them are quite costly or pricey, where you take like a helicopter and go. and do like dog sledding on the glacier. I It looks awesome. But again, Nick's gotta drop some lbs to make some of those things happen. So, well, I am going to say thank you guys so much for coming and hanging out. It's a short of little bit short of an hour. So, but I appreciate you guys coming and hanging out. I promise to continue to try to improve my live skills, and find some ways to make this an interactive experience. But um, oh, you got to drink the water. That is super cool. But sometimes you have to pay for the experience, right? If the experience outweighs the cost, definitely it's worth trying it out. And thanks so much for coming in. And I will see you, Scott. I'll probably see you on Thursday. Okay. Thank you guys so much for watching, and you guys have a super awesome rest of your Tuesday. Bye.